Welcome back to the channel, guys, and welcome back to part 2 of our excavator AC repair. I sure hope we get it in this one. I got some parts showed up, ready to be installed, so let's get to it. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and remove this old condenser for about the 100th time, I think. I also mentioned, before you get to this step, you probably want to have your system professionally evacuated and recovered because we care about the environment. All right. Here's our old condenser that we tried to repair on. And then here, fresh off the boat from Chinatown, condenser, spelled right here. Hopefully, it's the right size and our little hose fittings will fit right in here. It looks good. Just have to stab it and hope that it fits. So at a glance, everything looks correct. It looks like it should be a replacement. But I am going to just even see if they're remotely close before I go trying to stick it in the machine. 14 and a quarter. 14 and a quarter. About lengthwise. 22 and 3/8. 2 and 3/8. Hopefully these hose openings right here are similar size. Let me see if I can check that. Need a screwdriver. Looks good. Close enough anyways. For the record, why this didn't pop off with pressure when I took these caps off is I did take one of these bolts out and measure it just to make sure, because back like our original condenser was, there's threads cut into this block. Now these are actually through holes, so that's a little bit better than just having blind holes. We're going to cake them down with some anti-seize and hopefully they won't seize in there like those other ones did. But this thing was charged up with, I'm assuming it was nitrogen during shipping. So I'll go ahead and discuss why I just went ahead and bought another condenser. So we did repair the leak on this one with the JB Weld. It held, but there's a pretty good dent right here, and I kind of melted this condenser a little bit when I was first trying to braze on it. So I was kind of concerned about blocking off some of these tubes and not being able to have good clean flow through those tubes. So what I was seeing when I charged it up over time, I saw on the manifold gauges, the high side of the pressure gauge started to lose a little bit of pressure, and the low side was building up pressure. Over time, it wasn't right off. Wait a minute. Were both pressures high? Yeah, that's right. The high side wasn't getting low. The low side was getting high, and the high side was getting high pressure than what I thought they should have been. I was starting to build up somewhere around 50 psi, 45, 50 psi on the low side, and 200 on the high side, and I didn't overcharge it. It just kind of built up that way. I charged it up just right, and the more it ran and continued to run, then pressure started to change. So it kind of had me concerned that maybe this was a restriction in this condenser. So for about $390, we're going to find out. So I poured a little bit of PAG oil into this new condenser and coated the little hose ends a little bit. Looks like might have a little trouble finding a bolt hole to line up for us. So a couple discoveries. These holes do fit. They are the right size, which is perfect. The only downside is I'm sure it's something in that machine is bent, probably. Or either this is just off. These holes are drilled just off a little bit from the holes in the original condenser. So I'm definitely not going to be able to get 4 to line up, but I think 2 will be good enough, especially because we'll have the lines hooked in too. And there's, well, this one's somewhat rigid that goes in there. This one's a hose. Thinking what I'm going to do is just trim out just a little bit on the edges of these holes to be able to slide it back and forth just a little bit, because I'm showing about half a bolt hole. If I put this bolt in, I can see half the bolt hole on this one and vice versa. So if I trim a little bit out on both sides, I think that should give me enough room to get it mounted up. Well, I'm typically not a huge fan of Dremels, but in this instance, I feel like it's the right tool because we need to be real careful not to nick one of these tubes. That would be terrible. I do believe I'd cry. But so I'm gonna just kind of widen out this hole just a little bit, and then probably do the same on the other side. I think we should be good to go. That was taking far too long, so I'm gonna take a drill a few holes, and then finish that out with the Dremel. So I kind of wallowed this hole out on both sides just a little bit to maybe we can sneak this thing in there. Let's give it a try. Well, how about that? We were able to sneak 2 of them bolts in there, so we won't have 4 like we used to, but I'll try to not be hitting any ramps or anything with this thing anytime soon. So we got our new bolts to hold these lines in sufficiently gooped up with anti-seize. So maybe that'll prevent these from being a problem in the future. Everything's nice and tightened up. So we'll clean up down here and get ready to charge this thing up. So we're on top of the machine now. And what I want to do is replace these Schrader valves in here. I've been this far, so I just want to go ahead and replace them. And I did notice that one of them, the cap had pressure on it whenever I hooked these gauges back up. So that means it's leaking just a little bit. So I went ahead and got another set of Schrader valves. Came with the tool and everything. I needed one of those anyways. And I dropped the tool. Fantastic. I see it, but I don't know how I'm gonna get it. Dadgummit. So upon further inspection, I do not have the right size or style Schrader valve. So these are not getting replaced. We're just gonna hope that the caps are gonna hold the pressure. If it leaks out, then I'll find the right Schrader valves. Hook our vacuum pump up. Get us a power little extension cord ran over here. We're ready to pull a vacuum on this joker and charge her up, test her out. So we'll go ahead and kick that on, and we'll probably put a good vacuum on the system for about 45 minutes to an hour. So we've held right at negative 29.9 for about an hour now. So I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect this vacuum hose, or disconnect from the vacuum pump rather. Hook up to our can of Freon. Make sure these are closed. Go ahead and charge this up. And I'm gonna go ahead and bleed the air out of this hose. Whew. There's your refrigerant. So I'll get the machine fired up, AC all the way cold, all the way max fan, and we'll start filling this thing up. So the condenser replacement did not fix the issue clearly. So since then, I've talked to a couple buddies that done some AC work in the past, and they thought it might have been a good idea to go ahead and replace the expansion valve, which is in the worst possible location. Typically, as they always are, they're located right close to the evaporator. So I've spent many hours of pulling stuff apart and cleaning as I go, which is part of the reason it took so long, because this thing is just absolutely disgusting. So what I've been doing, and I think I'm pretty close to getting to it, is just ripping all this stuff apart, trying to get down to the evaporator. I don't have a good way to film in here, which is why I didn't film most of this. It's not too bad, it's just very time consuming to get to this point, because you have to pull all kinds of stuff, all the duct work and the compartments, the computer, a lot of bracketry you got to pull out, and it was just disgusting in here, so trying to clean as I go. So the issue I'm running into right now, I've taken so much stuff apart that I'm kind of tired of it. And right here I have all the screws that are holding this top half of this little clamshell ductwork. This is where the heater core was right here, the evaporator is right here, and then all your blend doors are, or not all of them, but some of them are in here to direct cold air or run it through the heater core. But anyhow, when you come over here, this is where it's splitting off, going to like blowing to your feet, blowing up by your head, or right in your face. It's through this little section right here. And this piece is, I really don't want to go much further than here, just because, I mean, I think I'd have to take the seat out and everything to get this apart. So what I'm going to try and do is use a little pry bar and just pry it off just enough that I can sneak this top half of this clamshell piece out. I might have a hard time trying to get it back together doing it like that, but I'm just tired of taking stuff apart. I gotta remember how all this stuff goes back together. So I was finally able to get that top half of that duct work off of there. That was hours of work just to get to this point, so that I can actually see the expansion valve right here, which is what I believe might be plugged. I was able just to use 2 pry bars on either side of this little piece housing, whatever that is, one on this side and one on that side, and pry them back just enough to be able to lift that top half off of there, which is exactly what I wanted. So I apologize, the filming is not, it's not very conducive for filming in here. I don't have a way to hook a camera to the windows or something like that. That might be what I need. But I'm gonna work on trying to get this expansion valve out of here. Looks like some type of sensing line down there. I'm not sure what all this is, but essentially it looks like 3 fittings and then a sensing wire, and it should be able to come out of there. Drain down your system of pressure, of course. professionally evacuated, as they say. This wasn't too terribly bad to get out. This fitting and this fitting came off fairly easy. Now this bigger one down here, I had to put a little heat to it and soaked it with a little penetrating fluid, and then it popped right off. Now this little sensing line that runs down here fixed to this line here that is wrapped with some type of rubber stuff, sticky rubber for like an insulator, and then it is banded with a big metal strap. So I had to actually get a Dremel with a little cutoff wheel and cut that band to be able to get that little sensor off of there, and it just sticks right to the side of that line right there. So that was a little bit of a pain, but now we've got the expansion valve out of there. Let's see if the new one I ordered is the right size and everything. Well, that was somewhat of a pain to get out. So straight from Chinatown, a new expansion valve. Well, it looks, oh no, it doesn't look similar. Uh-oh. That is different. And that is also different. Fantastic. Alrighty, so several days later, and we have a Murray part from O'Reilly's. One of these days I'm going to learn to just go to O'Reilly's first instead of trying to order crap straight from China on eBay. But the one for this machine, this is a Hitachi EX100-5, but I'm sure this fits plenty of other machines. It's a 38637, and I checked everything, so I know this is the correct one. Look at here, even gave us a pack of O-rings. Like I said, this is a Murray. See, warning, cancer. Okay, so I'll go ahead and work on getting this installed, and then bring you back in the machine and show you. So I got the new expansion valve installed and all the little lines routed the best I could. This sensor line, this is, hold on a minute, let me see if I can. This sensor line right here, it ran down and was wrapped around this, what I believe is the outlet pipe, and wrapped with rubber and a metal clamp. I had to cut that off, so what I did is I stuck it back in there and rolled it over best I could, and I got two metal zip ties and pulled them tight to hold that some type of sensor. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but just to hold it close to that pipe just like it originally was. And then I even cleaned up and vacuumed this evaporator core, and I ran the light behind it, and it's nice and clear, no obstructions. So I think we're ready to start reassembling here. Okay, so I got the housing put back together, the housing that holds the condenser, heater core, all the blend doors, and the expansion valve, of course, what we had to replace. But I wanted to show this part off. This is the motor, whoops, that drives the blend doors, and this was a point of struggle for me, how to get these off. Those little nubs on top of the blend doors where these arms attach to, and to get them off, there's a little tab right here on the end. I don't know how well that's showing up, but all you have to do is put a little screwdriver in there and pull that back just a little bit, and then maybe get another screwdriver to help get up under it and kind of wiggle this off of it. But that's all you have to do. That was, one of them was really stiff for me, and it was the first one I tried. so I wasn't exactly sure how to get it off, and I ended up breaking it. But I repaired it because this part's probably impossible to find for a reasonable price anyways. So I'll show you that repair whenever I get it put back in the machine. So here's the armature piece that I broke. I was worried to death. I was like, I'm never going to be able to find this part. So what I did instead was, it was a clean break, so I just went ahead and covered it up with JB Weld, as you can see here. And it seemed to be doing just fine. So this one came from right here, and if you can tell, there's a flat spot and a rounded side, just the same as what's on these blend doors. So push it right down on there just like that. That's all it is to it. Pop this one on here like it's supposed to be. This one connects just like that. Snap right in there. So I had to set the camera down and use both hands. Good grief, hickory nuts. Sound like missiles getting dropped on us. Anyhow, it was too difficult to do that with one hand, so I just set the camera down. And anyhow, this is how it goes. All of them connected. These two run together to the motor actuator right here. So now, if we were super confident, I could go ahead and slip this heater core back in here and start putting all the rest of this bracketry and duct work back together. But I'm gonna do about the minimum just to get all the electrical connectors hooked back up, and as well as put the computer back in here so we can fire it up and test and see if we're actually cooling down. Got the computer hooked back up and everything that I think I need to actually run the AC system, and got the vacuum pump out there pulling down the system. I've had it going for about an hour just trying to get all the moisture out of there. So I'm going to charge the system back up and we'll see how our expansion valve did. Well, guys, I hope you saw that. That is the most encouraging news I've seen since starting this whole thing. After I turned the camera off, we got down to, I think, 56 degrees was the coldest I saw it. That's almost 25 degrees difference, which to me is kind of impressive for these old machines. I'm not sure exactly how good the AC systems on them are supposed to be. But now starts the road of a long reassembling of all these internal parts, and it's been apart since the whole summer, so I'm sure it's going to take me a while to figure out where everything goes. Well, guys, I can't even tell you how pumped I am that we got this air conditioner working. So I've got everything back in here except for this right side little cover piece. And that is because I still need a cabin air filter right down there. I got the outside air filter, but the inside, I had one that came in a 2-pack, so that one was right, but the cabin air filter was wrong. So I've got one on order, so I'm just going to leave this driver's side box and ductwork off for now, just so I don't have to take it off later. But she's done and working. So part 2 to this video has taken quite a while. I'm sure if some of y'all have been watching for a while, you can tell that yourselves. But man, it just gets so hot out here that I even hate to just sit there and work on something, especially in that stuffy cab. So this air conditioner working is going to be fine. So we attempted to repair the condenser. That didn't work. So we bought a new one. That fixed our leaking issue. Then we replaced the expansion valve. Whether it was plugged or just quit working, I don't know. But regardless, it's all working now. It's kind of odd having two problems like that compounded on each other. Well, folks, I'm glad we're wrapping this little series up. I'm sick and tired of working on the air conditioner system. I've been working on it on my wife's Civic, this thing for months. Both of them are done and over with. So it's going to be fine to have back to use for the last couple days of hot weather before it starts getting cold for us. So guys, again, if you liked the video, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see me working on next. We have no shortage of old equipment, and every one of them needs something done to it. If you have any comments or questions, drop them down in the comments. I appreciate you tuning in. Have a blessed day.